what you say coming in again and will be used against you. Okay. Couple copies at the end here, anyone down there would like. So we are live. Meeting started at 6:31. Notes. Want to do the pledge before roll call? This meeting is being live. Okay, got it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
Which stands one nation under God,
Indivisible.
liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. Roll call real quick. Let's see.
Now wait,
Nancy?
dog vote.
Yes.
Here. Tony, you're here. All right. Eva's here. Mitchell said he could make it. Bruce, are you out there? No. Okay. Bob, I see you.
I'm here.
All right. Kylie. Bud, Kylie, I saw you. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you.
Here.
The next question is from Nancy.
The next question is from Nancy. All right, that's right. Doug, yeah, Doug is here. Carl,
Here.
Cindy, Jen, yes, that's on Jen, right? Yes.
Here, yes, hi.
Steve, yes,
Yeah.
Jim is here, Lee is here. Wow, we have a very good turnout actually. Good, sorry about that. Spam calls. And, okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's good. 13 out of 17. Hawkins still doesn't have anybody, neither does Ashland. So Ashland, so we basically of the 19 municipalities, we do have 17 at this point. Although there will be some changes coming up. Some of the representatives, we can talk about that in a moment. The next is the approval of the minutes. We have one copy of them printed here. If anybody can ask me to read them, I can pull them up on the screen if we want. I can share them on the screen if anybody would like me to. If not, you got any comments or questions on the minutes from last month?
No,
Anybody move? Second? Yeah. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Any abstain or recuse? Okay. Minutes are carried. Couple things in terms of reports and business items, or just talk about memberships. There were 6 members whose terms expire next month, March 15th. So on the legislative agenda tonight, there's a resolution. We got the paperwork for Eva and Kylie. So hopefully they should be reappointed tonight. Jim's paperwork, I'm still waiting in the mail. We got a fax copy that didn't come through. That was all blurry. So yeah, so I don't have. So Jim, you'll be on next month's. Plus what I described yesterday, so it would have been time to put it on this month's calendar. So yours will be on next month's legislative calendar. And Bruce is not well from the town of Village, Bob, you're from the village, the town of Coxsackie, so they have recommended a new appointment of William Whitbeck from the town of Coxsackie. But being it's a new appointment, it's got to go through a vetting process, not a reappointment, so hopefully that'll happen next month as well. Jean, hopefully you'll be on next month's agenda as well. Hopefully we'll have your paperwork for next month. And Doug, this is going to be your last meeting. Sorry to see you go, but so we'll have to work with the town of Hunter to hopefully get a new appointment for the town of Hunter. And the next month, that's always a tricky thing with me, Jean and Jim. I don't know if technically we'll be able, you know, our meeting will be the same night as the legislature on the 16th. You're technically 15th expired, so technically not have been reappointed for next month. So you might not be able to vote next month, technically. Next month's meeting on the 15th. Another thing I wanted to bring up, well, we talked more about when we go through the training. Let me pull up, I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint with the agenda and share it. Share the screen. Here to do that. Okay, everybody see that now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. The trainings that are coming up, and I want to just talk about our potential training. Some Department of State trainings that are coming up. Well, and there's also a Association of Towns conference next week. So if your municipalities are members of the Association of Towns of New York, you can. That's open to members. Their Department of State is putting on 2 training sessions in that conference. One land use moratoria and comprehensive planning. I believe next Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, but I sent out that information yesterday. And then there's some other webinars coming up. Sullivan County's holding one on planning and zoning intro. There is Onondaga County is doing one on planning and zoning and planning. And then there's one in the southern, so a couple on the southern tier coming up at the end of March. And then what else? Well, and there's some later in April, which perhaps well, said to have the topics pick seeker, form-based zoning, affordable housing coming up later in April. So what I wanted to just talk about, we usually do a training in the spring, partner with Columbia County. The past 2 years, obviously, they have been webinars, and we ended up doing them in June. Back in 2019, we actually did a live in-person training. It was in May for many people. So I guess the question is now, I did contact the Department of State. They are starting to schedule some in-person trainings again. They have a couple scheduled in June. So I wanted to run it by you guys to see whether we wanted to try to schedule an in-person training for perhaps late May, early June. Potentially also, which I could look into doing a combined, perhaps in-person and Zoom, so people could participate somewhat a hybrid, similar to like we're doing right here. So I wanted to see if anybody had any thoughts on that, as well as any potential topics. Right now, if you want to do it in June, now's the time to start planning it, setting the date, or late May, early June with the Department of State. To get a topic set, get a place set if we're going to do it in person, dates, and so forth. So I wonder if there's any thoughts on.
Rich, are you saying you want to have one that all of us would participate at the same time?
Well, ideally, I mean, no one's, what we have done historically, we put on these webinars, the past 2 years, there were webinars before that in-person trainings. Not every county planning board member attended, Ideally, it would be great if all, the county, many municipal, but we partner with Columbia County and we get a lot of, we get folks from both Columbia County local planning boards and Manhattan County Planning Board, as well as, as Greene County. So, depending on the date, not everyone may necessarily be able to make it, but ideally as many folks from Greene and Columbia County could attend as possible. I mean, things have been a little different. I mean, again, we used to just do them in person before the onslaught of webinars. We did them locally so that it would be available locally for local local planning and zoning boards. Now you can take webinars, across the state. And so there's pros and cons. There's upside to coming to an in-person training. Some people enjoy that more. There's an upside to sitting in your living room for 2 hours and listening to a training. To get your training requirements. So
I personally like the in-person. I mean, they've been put together so that you can do the 4 hours
yes,
in the one in-person training. And that was, to me, a really good model.
right. And we've done that right. So we have it from 5 to 9 o'clock. We do all 4 hours at once, as opposed to having to do an hour webinar here and a 2-hour webinar there and another hour webinar there. You get all done in one night, is the way they were previously set up. So and in person, to me, it's easier to ask questions. It's easier to interact often than online. I don't think it's the questions and interactions occur online that do in person. So there's pros and cons to each. My thought right now is essentially try to set up some kind of hybrid where we did it in person and we had an online option. So if somebody did, or couldn't make it or didn't have the time to travel or for whatever reason wanted to participate online, they would have that option. I just don't know how to do it, but I'd have to find out from we usually do it at our 911 training center over in Caro. Done in the past, they have all the bells and whistles of electronics. I imagine we could do it. Set up a Zoom type of event there if we wanted to. I'd have to clear that with Department of State as well. So that's my thought. So, how do you feel about that? Anybody care? And then topics. I mean, if you have any topics you're thinking of right now, or if you want to email me or let me know what training topics past. These are the ones last year we did zoning and introduction and comprehensive planning. The year before that, we did spot zoning and short-term rentals. The year before that, we did seeker and solar regulations and mapping. So if there's any, I wouldn't mind doing part of that session if we did a 4-hour on use of our own Greene County mapper for people, but obviously Columbia County. Maybe we can set it up where we have both the Greene County web mapper and the Columbia County web mapper sessions as part of that training, so people can become more familiar with our mapping resources in each of the counties. So those are some of my thoughts. All right, that's all. So we want to move on to the referrals.
Yes.
All right. Here's just more of the training links, as I share all the time, folks. Now we'll get out a spreadsheet for this year, sometime in the next couple of weeks, of where people's training are at and where you need to, who's got what hours that are carrying over and so forth. Because if you took more than 4 hours in the past couple of years, those hours do carry over. The first referral is Town of Prattsville. A couple of months ago, they sent they're revising their site plan review law. They sent it to us, I think it was December, reviewed it, sent back some comments. They pretty much incorporated the comments we submitted and revised it. And so this is a revised version that was sent back. I really didn't have any additional comments except one saying that I was encouraged to have and law as a reference to the need to produce an ag data statement if you're in or within 500 feet of an ag district parcel. So that was my only comment, was to include the recommended adding language requiring the ag data statement. I did send this around yesterday. There's a quick copy of it floating around the site plan the provisions. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions or comments about that. Yeah, I mean, it seemed pretty comprehensive. I think they did a nice job updating it, so.
I'll second it.
Who moved it?
Tony.
Tony? Okay. All right, motion to accept the recommendation with local decision with that comment. Tony, seconded by Lee, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody abstain? I don't know if you were involved in locally or you voted on it locally. So if you were involved in it locally, you don't need to. Okay, that motion carries. The next one is, again, this is one that came back to us. This a couple months ago. The town of Wyndham sent us an informal referral for comments on the draft comprehensive plan. We submitted some fairly extensive comments in review of the plan.
Even typos, that's good.
Typos, yeah, typos. That's I did catch one typo. You know, they misspelled Wyndham of all things. No. I know they misspelled. I'm sure it's just a typo. But so again, a lot of the comments we made last time were incorporated, which was good to see. I think it's a good comprehensive plan. I had a few additional comments, which they can take or leave. You know, a lot of it was some big things, which I won't go in order of the comments here, were housing, which I think they're going to be addressing housing. Housing is going to be a critical issue. One of the things in terms of promoting small businesses, particularly agribusiness, even though a number of towns have chosen to opt out for now of dispensaries and on-site use of marijuana, I think towns should be keeping an open mind and considering, you know, the zoning, planning and zoning tools at this point and how they might want to look at that in the future. So, you know, the law does allow that, call for that you can create zoning regulations for these kind of facilities. So I'm encouraging municipalities to do that in the future. They've chosen to opt out at this point. The natural resources, I think, they did point some of that out, but I think flooding and resiliency are issues that we need to pay attention to in the upper planning. So there's just another net underscoring that, as well as plan does, as we did in our earlier comments, talk about the need to some type of regulation of short-term rentals, as well as consideration of potentially adopting the zoning code in Wyndham. So there are supporting comments for the town to move forward with doing both of those things. Basically, the comments, which are reiteration of some comments that were already made.
This is their first comprehensive plan?
It is an update, 20 years ago, they did a plan, 2002.
2000.
So this is an update to a 2002 plan. So it's almost like a new plan, you know, but it is an update. And I know they had the public hearing last week, so I think we're ready to move forward with adopting. They're just waiting for feedback from the last one. I don't know, I did send it around, not that you're almost have time to sit and read 280 comprehensive plan on your computer, but I don't know if anybody else had any comments or questions about the plan.
So I'm sorry, did we implement your recommendation for possible areas for the future for zoning for dispensaries of that? So they mention?
Well, that's a new comment. They don't make mention of that. Yeah, that's a new comment. So there's no mention of that in the comprehensive plan at this point. No. They did include some of the comments about housing, considering,
Airbnbs.
yeah, not staff, but also accessory dwelling units as housing, HOA housing for young families. The focus before was mostly on the need for senior housing, given that town has an aging population. Well, that'll put it out, but I think we should look at it comprehensively. Want to try to, the school enrollment's been going down, as you know, out there and so forth. So it's just, if you want to try to attract young people, you're going to want to look at housing for families as well. So that's some of the comments. There's potentially state legislation coming on accessory dwelling units. So how they want to address accessory dwelling units as well. Anything else? Any other comments or questions or thoughts?
No,
Everybody read it cover to cover, right?
absolutely.
Sure thing.
Should have a quiz. Ready. Okay. So that is the recommendations, a local decision with some of those general comments.
I'll make a motion to approve local decision with comments.
Second with Robert, is that?
Yep, it was me.
Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That an opposed? That's not an opposed right now. That's an opposed. Any abstain or recuse? All right, so that carries. The next one is, again, this was one that came to us 2 months ago for an area variance. It was right up the road here on County Route 23B. It is an old Astoria motel. We want to change into lodging cabins, but it's they've kind of classified it as a motel under their zoning code. But their code only allowed 20 units. This is 31 units. So they did grant the area variance. That was before us a couple of months ago now. Now this is for the site plan review and a site plan review and special use permit for what they're calling stay local. So it's here is what the location up on campus in this County Route 23B here. It's right up kind of very close up the road here in the town of Catskill. This is, I don't know how well you can see these online, but this is all the former hotel buildings, which will all be removed from the site. Now, it is zoned primarily a highway commercial. Some of it is residential agriculture towards the rear of the property, but primarily highway commercial. Needs a special use permit. Motels in the highway commercial zone need a special use permit. The application was not very clear about that, but that's what I can conclusion that special use permit is required for a motel, and the cabins, the 31 cabins are being considered as a motel. Just some of the natural resources on the site. There is some wetlands on the site that run through some federal wetlands that run through. Sorry, I got my card.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you guys live?
We are live.
Just a word of caution when we leave tonight, evidently there's a group outside that's protesting. And there are some deputies down. Okay. But it looks like protesting anti-mask mandates, which kind of in the wrong location.
But anti-mask? Not mask mandate?
The sign said unmask our kids. Yes.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
I
against-
just wanted to give you a heads up because I don't know what time you're going to get out here. And there's a group
Yeah,
out
we only have one more referral after this, so
So just-
another 10, 15 minutes probably.
Okay,
Thanks.
we're all done.
All right, have a good night. So, and these are also, this is 100-year floodplain back here at the rear of the site. as well. So again, these plans are out on the table. If anybody wanted to look at them, get a better look than this kind of schematic. This is,
It's the old what?
I don't know if it was.
So,
Carl had everything.
Old Astoria Motel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so down the pool,
Um,
I think it's,
Well, I had some comments. One, again, I think my general comment in some ways is trying to get local boards to fill out the referral form, so it makes sense. You know, in the project description, actually give me a project description, because there was nowhere in the referral form or project narrative that said what the special use permit was for. And it did finally say that on the zoning analysis on the site plan. So one of my comments is just the more accurately they could fill out the project description, or since we're not talking to the applicant, easier the referral process to go. One of my thoughts was to send this back saying incomplete, because I just changed it to local decision with comment, because I don't want to hold off the local decision process, but I really felt that the application didn't have enough information, and I'll get into a little bit more of that. And that's all spelled out in the staff review memo in terms of the information that was lacking. But it's hard to see on some of those plans, but a couple of concerns I had was, or these 7 cabins, even though they meet the setback, but there's only a 25-foot setback requirement along this portion. This is the southern portion, but there is I am also still concerned that you have 7 cabins here that are very close to the neighboring property. If you got 7 parties going on here on one weekend, that's going to, I guess it's going to disturb the neighborhood. So even though then they changed the layout a little bit to try to make it a little more open, they also changed the parking from the last site plan. There was parking in each of the cabins. Now they just have a parking lot in the front. And I guess basically you need to, walk into your cabin, a walk-in site. And while they have handicap parking here, it wasn't real clear to me how accessible this is for handicapped accessible cabins are. I mean, you can't reach them by car, which in some ways is nice. So that was one of the concerns. They talked about it being a net zero resort, they say in one way, a net zero resort, and a net zero motel. So that's a little unclear as well, what they exactly mean, how they're going to design this site to be net zero or low carbon. If there's a note here that says they're going to put some solar arrays down in the parking area, but again, there wasn't enough detail. I don't know whether they're planning on putting solar carports in, or they're going to run the whole site off of solar. It's just, to me, if I were a local board, I'd want to know more information about what the plan there is. They also talked about when they take down some of the old buildings, you're going to try to salvage as much of the building material and reuse it, which I think is a great idea, but I think I want no more detail on the local level about what's salvageable and what needs to be discarded. And I think that basically, there was no landscape plan either. They talked about using native plants and pollinator plants, which is all great, but there was no landscape plan included.
Is that parking lot paved or the new parking lot? Or is it gravel? Did they tell you? It doesn't say, well, it's painted handicap, so I presume it's adding an awful lot of paved area, adding an awful.
Well, it's an 18.8 acre site, and they're saying they're only disturbing about 3.3 acres, which I was surprised at as well. This is up here is where the floodplains. That's just back to, this is the creek back here. We're basically north is this way, so this is the southern part of the site. But Yeah, but they decided to put the parking here instead of at each cabin.
And they're putting two retention ponds in.
These are, yes, two retention ponds down here.
So there is problems with wetness. And it's quite close to the road.
Well, yeah, the county highway looked at this, they didn't have any issue with that as far as I know. The wet part of the site is back here. This is the wet part of the site back by the creek. This is the creek back here, so.
So I don't know whether they have clay over here out front or what. There was always like a little unofficial pond in the front. Yeah, what's that big rectangle?
Oh, that, a sauna, a pool house and sauna with a deck looking out towards the creek. So this is underneath to the site.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's, yeah, most of that is a deck. It's a big deck. And it also said that they're gonna reclaim some historic pathways back to the creek, but they're not on the site plan either. I was kind of curious about
Well,
that.
there's a pathway down here to the creek, but that's just judging by the lines, this is pretty steep hike.
Well, that's right, again, my suggestion was,
It's not-
I would want a little bit more detail on
Yeah.
how what they're doing to
Suggest
restore.
they put some steps in
restore
there
some of these
somewhere.
paths, yeah. I mean, it looked very much like a preliminary site plan as opposed to a final site plan. And, again, from the county's perspective, we don't need that detail, but
Yeah.
that's why I changed it to just a local decision as opposed to incomplete, because it doesn't necessarily need to come back to the county unless they wanted to. Also on the site plan, the numbers, the parcel numbers are wrong on the site plan.
Well, that's not helpful.
So, and of course, then it's dated January 13th, 2022, so it should have the updated parcel numbers on.
Do we know what some of these designations mean? FSTS, SSWD, is that cross-reference to the elevations? I'm just curious because I hate things that don't have a legend. If you're going to give me an
They
abbreviation.
didn't tell me what-
These.
Yeah, I do not, they did not. If you look at the first page, you'll see it references the size of the cabin.
Ah,
No.
okay.
It's, which I would have also liked to have seen a schematic of what the cabins will look like, some kind of elevations or schematic or pictures of the cabin.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
a different project?
Oh, this is a different project.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they didn't provide the elevations or, I would have liked to have seen that as well. I think they probably will.
Yes, especially, I mean, this is a very well-traveled road off the thruway, so it's.
I mean, it's something a great project.
Yeah, it's done something.
I just think
They've been working on things over there for years. I just don't know which way they were heading.
As far as I can tell, it's a residence. I mean, the house is not like right on the border here, but, I hate to, have to put that in and then go. Because I think that happened in one of the other similar type of development.
And it was a neighbor that hadn't really been considered.
Yeah, I think it was an expansion of a campground and they put some of the campsites, a little close to the property, disturbing. It may not be an issue, but that's just something that I want to think about.
This is somebody else's property, this house and the rectangle.
It's a separate parcel. You mean,
No,
right in the middle here? I
no,
can tell what
no,
you're
no,
pointing at.
This one here. I'm working on things apart.
Yeah, well, it's a separate.
That's somebody else's property?
No.
It's a separate parcel, self-contained. But all the roads are going through there, sorry, I guess.
Yeah, yes, that is. I think that is a separate parcel. Yes.
Looks like existing house.
Yeah, it says existing house, but I'm just wondering, is it somehow connected to this one? Because this pathway is going, this driveway is going right through it.
Right. Well, no,
So it's either an easement or an agreement or something.
no, it's all owned by the same
Same person.
person, and the house is going to be removed.
Has to remain. Existing house to remain.
They said all structures are going to be removed.
From this parcel, not this one. That, if this is a separate parcel. Well, it says house. No, I thought I went driving by here. It's Lucy's house.
See?
They're planning to build a road right through this property. Extend this driveway
Yeah,
right this way.
Yeah. One story wood frame.
So unless, if it's the same owner, that probably, they know what's going on, but if it's
Yeah.
somebody else. Well, it better be the same owner, because I wouldn't want anybody build a road. through
Well,
my
yeah, well, it is. No,
property.
it is. Yes. I just thought it was going to be removed, but.
It's supposed to be traffic.
Well, I don't think he's going to be using the house. But- And there's also a proposal to put 2 restaurants, or one restaurant and 1 eatery kind of back in here, but there's no details on that either. So,
Kitchen. And restaurant, yeah. Two restaurant, I only see one restaurant on the plan.
well, there's a restaurant and there's like a eatery.
There's a kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah,
pizza.
back here, pizza, yeah, like that.
Okay.
Put some kind of like wood fired pizza oven or something back there.
By the pool.
By the pool.
They can eat pizza and jump in the pool.
You can jump in the pool and run over sauna.
That's like having a diet coke with a Big Mac.
I mean, that goes with
Big Mac.
Yeah, so that made a local decision with some of those comments about, kind of.
Additional information, yeah.
Just,
Clarification.
again, more for the local,
Maybe you could add the road maintenance agreement though, for that was separate parcel.
Because if that ever becomes a different person,
Yeah, because the owner bolts out, sell it, the attorney doesn't do his job, and all of a sudden the guy says, how come I got a road going through it? And I don't want to maintain it anymore, as if that's never happened. And just because it was identified as a separate parcel with the right of way going right through it, it's
Yeah.
fine if I own it, and I'm the resort owner, big deal.
Yeah.
But if I say I'm bolting Florida to retire, sell it to you, and you say, what a beautiful spot in April, and then all of a sudden it's 50 cars going through with 31 cabins.
I know, I could,
Maybe not, I mean, I don't know, I'm just saying.
yeah, I could.
You brought it up, I didn't see it.
I certainly bring up the questions.
Yeah.
But,
It's just,
right.
it's a separate parcel, you can sell it. It should be listed as.
Okay, I can add that. So,
Yeah, so I guess we're saying that the local planning board really needs to look at this a little more. Because of course,
Well, I think you gave a bunch, but.
that's,
that's kind of what we're saying. You said, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
That's the comment.
Yeah, those are the comments. And, as I look at it. I mean, one of my general comments is to the goal form to fill out, just give me a better project description, so I don't have to try to figure out what it is I'm looking at. Project description that's submitted just said special use permit and site plan review for development of a net zero resort.
So what's
So,
the special, what's the reason for the special use? Because there's a limit on how many units can.
No, that's what I need the variance for motel in the highway commercial district, and the code says that the motel requires a special use. It is categorized as a motel by the.
In pieces, okay.
So,
well, that's it. Remember those old, I mean, that used to be the common way motels were built with all these little cabins. Here, you go to a motel and you were in all those little cabins.
Right.
I mean, that was.
the district tax. All right, that's it, local decision with comments.
With a lot of comments.
With the amended, with the addition of a road, the consideration of road maintenance agreement, do that separate parcel. So, that's what's on the table. Everybody interested in making a motion.
Motion.
Motion for local decision.
Yes,
With lots of comments.
with lots of comments, yes.
Is that Kylie? That was a second?
Yeah, with lots of comments.
Does that mean there's more comments or just?
No, it's like everything that y'all said. Yeah, my biggest concern was the handicap stuff, but y'all addressed that.
Right. Okay, so it's a table motion by Eva, seconded by Kylie, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any
What
abstentions?
was the motion? I didn't hear the motion.
The motion is local decision with comments, as we're in the memo with the addition of, consideration of a road maintenance agreement through that separate parcel.
So
you
it's
have-
a motion is approved with comments? Was that it?
Yes.
Well, the
Okay.
motion is local decision with comments, not to approve it, but local decisions with comments.
Oh, local decision. Okay, all right.
I mean, if I were a local board, I would want more I would want more information
Mm-hmm.
before I approve this, but you know, that's the motion. So are there any no's? Any abstentions or recuse?
This is Bob. I have to recuse.
Okay. So, then it carries 12 yeses with one recusal. All right, I got that right? No other no's or abstentions? All right, the last one is, this just came in a few days ago, but I tried my best to review it and get it on the agenda. It is for Greene County Soil and Water wants to build a mixed-use building on County Route 56. Wyndham doesn't have any zoning. This is for, that's a site plan review. Details, I think, it's a 4,800 square foot building. It's a 4,800 square foot building with a 3-bay maintenance garage, attached office space. Sort of 3-bay garage is for storing vehicles, equipment, tools, and primarily a place where they want to house the tree seedlings and their plant stock that they use for their stream restoration project. This is the site here on County Route 56, where this is Park, right by the intersection of Peck, not Park, Peck, sorry, Peck Road, right by that fork there. Yeah, this is Big Hollow going down. It's right by that fork. An area where they're using the site right now, this black area here is actually a tarp where they keep the plants, and they put some deer fencing around it. So they want to kind of improve the site where they can have a building to keep their equipment in and so forth. I do not have electronic submissions of this. I don't have a paper copy, so I have to take some pictures. This is the site plan where they want to put a road, basically an access driveway, and at this garage, well, equipment storage and office space. They want to put 4 hoop houses over here for the plants. There is an existing barn on the property, which is going to remain. This is a picture of the elevations that are here. One thought about this was, I mean, you can't see that on here, but this is basically going to be a metal constructed building. But a metal constructed building, to me, kind of looked a little firehouse-ish. And I was just concerned about aesthetically and architecturally how it would fit in with, the existing barn and a metal, a metal building here, so,
Large building compared to the barn.
well, it is a large site, it's not, it's not.
I was saying, it's not right up,
Yeah,
it's not right next to the barn.
Yeah, but it's 12 and a half, 12 and a half
This way.
acres, yeah.
A fair amount from where that barn
Let's
is.
see if I
That
can.
barn is used as a
Storage of a
no, wedding venue.
Yeah,
wedding venue.
Yeah,
I mean, here's the barn down here. This is the barn down here. And then, the building is gonna go back up and, behind it. So it's not.
yeah, I don't think, it's not like an interference thing, I don't think.
No.
And where you show that park-like thing, they've already been storing plant
Right,
materials up there for a couple of years.
Right.
For a number of years.
And it's fenced in now, I guess.
Yeah.
Here. So, yeah, and the building's gonna go back here. The drive is gonna go right up to here. The building constructed back here. This is all protected. This is Nature Conservancy land back here. This is all protected. This is the Baby Hill back here.
So the overhead doors are going to be directly off the parking lot.
Yeah.
The facade with the overhead doors. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure out the orientation.
Existing population plan. Picture of that stuff there. Barn, drive. I'll try to be consistent here. This is what we're looking at on the table right now. Wires. Yes, I would. Let's see. Yeah. Short years base. And hoop houses, which are a little close to the road. Again, this didn't have a landscaping plan either, ironically. I thought, it's they're very effective as plantings. I'm surprised that they didn't do landscaping plan with this. Have some kind of vegetative buffer or something from hoop houses from the road. I don't know what that is. I don't know. Besides that,
Rich, make that motion to approve the site plan for the
well, there were some comments, so I don't know if you want to approve it or you want to submit some of these comments. But,
Michelle didn't finish them. Is Michelle didn't finish them? He said, well,
I don't know.
Michelle Yost, whose
Yeah.
office is in town. She has an office there, so they go to the new office.
But they've been doing this Batavia Kill project for years.
Yeah, but the new building includes.
Yeah, office space, I know.
But that's what, because,
But I think it's because it's,
but daycare below needs to expand.
oh,
So
is
I
that
wondered if
what
she's
you,
leaving.
oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
didn't think, but I was
He's
like,
got his tennis going.
I have no idea what Michelle's saying.
I can't have any effect. It doesn't, it's not like it's a.
So there were some comments. I mean, the lighting, they only have one. I was having questions about the lighting, if it was significant enough. There was no landscaping plan. Again, whether the aesthetics of it, and so, or you can vote to approve it. The motion on the table is, but made by is to is approve. The recommendation.
Local
was
decision
to-
with comment, yeah,
Okay, not approve.
right?
Now we're trying to
Is
do
that what
local
you want?
decision with comment? Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstained? Bob, you need to recuse?
Rich, yes, I do have to recuse myself.
All right. And those are all the referrals.
okay,
That's it. Any, the next meeting is month, March 16th. If there's any thoughts on those trainings, any ideas, trainings that want to be held, let me know. Any motion to adjourn?
Oh my God.
All right.
I'll second that.
Nobody wants to second
I'll
that?
second it.
All in favor? I assume that's everyone.
Aye.
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 It's
Aye.
7:24. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to turn off.
Thank you.
All right, see you next month.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, on
Stop
the share.
We can-
Oops. Good night.
Night.
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Chet. Good night, Judy. No, it's good night, Dick. Oh, you're young, so you could, good night, John Boy, good night.
I'll let you log out.
Good night, David. Good night, Chet.
Yeah. Why would you already hit end meeting? Come on,
David, Rick, and Chet, how many?